Hi everyone. I wanted to create a short video on how I added the new Apple Ads API to the App Store Connect CLI. And a lot of people on X said that I implemented it fast, but to me it was very slow. I could have done it much faster. But I just wanted to show the behind about it and how I use the goal feature with GPT 5.6 Sol to ship everything on most of the stuff. A lot of the stuff is also from Fable 5 and Cloud Desktop, but I also prefer using most of the time use GPT 5.6. And I think right now I'm trying to ship the latest one, so you can see that it will create the sub agents and then send the chat to itself and then just continue until the next release, which is 4.8.0, is done on. And I already released 2 releases today, so I'm happy. So I thought of just making a video in case you learn something new from this video. So I think around 12:19 a.m. I got a mail that there's a new API for platforms called V1, and I wanted to implement it as soon as possible, be the first one. So I just asked Codex that go through my mail about the new endpoint, see the implementation of how I have done the. So I already have the Apple Ads. I think it's the previous V5, and then find all the endpoints and the new ones, and I wanted to deprecate the previous ones and do the implementation that feels like the CLI. I even made a typo here. And then in the morning I will test. So after creating this, I wanted to go back to sleep. Spoiler alert, I did not. So till then, create sensible PRs for the features and commit them, and do not merge. Make sure all the PR comments are fixed, and while making the PR, make sure to tag them as 4.4.0, and then create a goal to achieve this when you have all the context, and create the new endpoints nicely. So it went through my mail, found it, and then I asked it to, you can use as many sub agents as possible. And at this point I started using Luna Max as my sub agent, which was much cheaper to work with. So I think then it went through all the 99 operations across the 24 collections. It did all the stuff and a lot of going through and did the foundation. And then I think something happened here. It was I think I closed the MacBook, then I had to click continue, and then after that it worked nicely for 2.5 hours, and then did the whole implementation. And at this point I did not sleep. I was just looking at it, and at one point I woke up from sleep. I actually went to sleep, and then just in between, because I had another thread that was running the 4.3 implementation. I was like, what are you doing? Just be focused on 4.3 release and do not ask it another chat, and just focus on this. So, and I was like, is this you? I was trying to blame it, and it's like, no, that was not me. Then I realized, because I was in sleep, the other thread was, the sub agents from the other thread was sending the chat to itself. And then I was like, okay, let it just continue. And then I think an hour later, or like 4 a.m. at this point, I asked it. This was more of a brainstorming session. I did not do much of the brainstorming in the beginning, so this was the time where I had to steer the agent. If I had done this better, then it could have run on its own better. And then I was like, no man, I need ASC CLI, focus on ASC. So ASC ads should be in the same name. Otherwise it wanted to have ASC ads with a different name. So now this new one was ASC ads campaigns, and the previous one is now deprecated to ASC ads v5. And then I asked, like, go through and remove it from all the PRs. I think it then worked well. And then in the end, I was like, I had already played with Apple Ads in May, so I asked it to go through my one of the local Codex charts where I had the credentials, and then test it using that credentials. And I asked it, you can just do whatever you want, create the budget, mutate it, change the campaigns. So all of this instruction, the reason I'm showing you the charts is that I could have all of them in one single prompt and just one shot this implementation to be much faster, and I don't have to be in the loop at all, so that it can go make the changes, verify using the API, then see how the output looks like. And then something I call as the agent experience, AX, that it can work on what it prefers. And then I was like, are you happy with the implementation? This is the best you could have done. I think at this point maybe it was 5 or 6 a.m. and then I was like, okay, just please fix all of them. And then I told it that 4.3 in the other thread has been released, so be very sure whatever changes you make. And then I let it continue doing a lot of stuff for hours. And I was so impatient. I was like, okay, you're too slow, can you please be quicker? And then it just went through all the PRs again and again. At this point it was 9 a.m, so it worked for 5 hours continuous in this. That's why I got so impatient. And then it continued working and more. And I think it needed explicit permission for me to merge main into this. I don't know why it usually would do it on its own. And then I was like, okay, do it. And then for the next 2 hours it would go through all the PRs and then see the PR comments. And then I got really impatient and I was like, okay, I've been working on 9 hours on this. Are these really P0 P1 issues? If not, we will fix it on later on, because I really wanted to release. And then I was like, okay, just stop and then do the release. And in the end I was able to get it to release, but as I said, it took me almost 12 hours to do this, which I could have done in 3-4 hours at max to test and verify everything. And if I had a faster model, it would have been much nicer. So yes, this is what I wanted to show on how I ship. It's nothing fancy at all. I think what I'm using is still 2024, maybe 2025, but definitely not something that I'm very proud of in 2026. A lot of this can be I wouldn't say it can be cheaper if I had more guardrails around the way that I would want, and have the whole workflow in just or in a one prompt. And it's kind of a lot of the stuff that I usually repeat is already in the skills and the agents.md, but I still have this habit from 2024 that I need to constrain the model or repeat to the model again and again. These models are so superior that you do not have to do all of this. Like in this release, all the sub agents, after doing the audit, is sending it what went wrong or what did not went wrong. So it's like the agents are playing on themselves, and I would just let them until everything is merged. And then at that position I'm like, okay, I'm in the loop now. I would see what is happening, because release is something that I try not to cut until I'm pretty happy. And then I have some PRs that I already made, almost 71 or 72 PRs day before, and now I'm just going through them one by one to understand what all it did. Because the main thing was I had Fable 5 and GPT 5.6 run for hours on the CLI and trying to find things that it did not do well. So let's say I had this next support for categories, sorting by SKU. So these are very small things that improves the experience of the CLI for the agents. So this is what I'm more focused on, because I have covered everything that the App Store Connect can provide. So when it uses it, finds something wrong, then it would then come back and do it. I have an automation for this running as well, but the way I have been shipping is that automation feels I should run twice a day. I feel like this daily release is something that I look forward to every day now, and it has kind of become an addiction. So I don't want to stray away from the topic. This is a simple way on how I ship, and if you learn something new, let me know. And if you watched till now, so that I will continue making such videos. And with that, have a good day and thank you.